And welcome to the Barry Foster Show, now on YouTube, originating from the Ridge Floor Studios in the City of Charm, beautiful downtown Avon Park. If you have any thoughts, ideas, of suggestions for our program, topics you'd like us to talk to, people you'd like us to interview, just put them on the comments below. Remember to like and subscribe, and I've been told to remind you that subscribing to this YouTube channel comes at no additional charge. Yes, it's absolutely free. And join our pages at the Barry Foster Show on Facebook and Instagram. That would be very helpful as well. This morning on the phone we have Tom Trento from the United West. Tom, good to have you with us again, my friend.
Barry, always great to be with you. You do a fabulous job, and I enjoy solving the world's problems together.
Can we talk a little bit about the United West? I mean, there may be some folks out there who've never heard of this organization before that does such great work in ferreting out anti-American, anti-Israeli activities. How did you first get this thing started?
It was a dark night in Actually, the way it all happened, I was a kid watching the World Trade Center go up. And in September of 2001, in my home in South Florida, I watched the trade centers come down. And at that point, I had done degrees in law enforcement and theology, philosophy. I was a student of Islamic theology. And I knew, Barry, we are in for an epic, historic moment. And I went back to school at the Florida Atlantic University. I ordered a bunch of classes on the Middle East, on Islam, on Israel. And in 2006, I saw a movie produced by a Clarion project called Obsession, Radical Islam's War Against the West. And I said, oh, my God, these guys know what's going on. I thought it was a New York or Chicago or L.A. production. 4 rabbis out of Jerusalem made this amazing documentary. I contacted them. We have been friends and have worked together since 2006. That's almost 20 years. I now lead tours to Israel, national security tours. I started originally an organization called the Florida Security Council to secure Florida against Islamic Jihad because, as you remember, Barry, Florida was used as a launching pad for 9/11. The airports were used here, the hotels. Mohammed Atta, the leader, lived in an apartment 2,000 feet from where I live right now. I pass it every day, and it's inspiration. He was an evil genius behind the airplane attacks. Inspiration to fight Islamic Jihad, not fight Muslims as humans. I'm a Christian, Barry. I love all people. But when an ideology supersedes your humanness and you choose to kill others as part of your theological doctrine, it's where the United West comes in. We have 4 mission objectives. Very simple. Defend the Constitution, defend the state of Israel, our number 1 national security partner, defeat Mohammed, and defeat Marx. And for your older listeners, not Groucho Marx, we like him. Karl Marx we want to defeat.
Yes.
So that's what we're all about, and that's what we do.
You dove into what has been really a target-rich environment over the course of the last 25 years or so, Tom. I mean, you have not wanted for work at all with the disturbances that have been in the Middle East and the assault on the Constitution here in America.
Yeah, and that's very, very frustrating. I have a team of about 15 people, basically all volunteers. We're a nonprofit. We live on donations. And everybody, I have retired 3-letter folks, retired military, business people. We've been together, most of us, 15 years, and that target-rich environment you talk about, very, very frustrating, because when you're, and these folks are very highly talented, and when you're highly talented and focused, and you see 50 targets, and a target is any individual or entity that wants to destroy the United States of America, like I will predict the next mayor of New York, Zohran Mamdani. When you see all this and our resources and our limitations, maybe we could only go after 3 or 4 good targets, but 3 or 4 on a national scale. It's frustrating, but most of us are Christians or believing Jews. Got a couple of atheists thrown in there. It's always interesting. And, we believe that our obligation isn't to solve every problem, but to solve and address the problems we can. And that brings contentment in light of the inability to solve the big problem.
Do you think there's cross-pollination there with the situation in the Middle East and the New York City election?
Oh, absolutely.
How does what's happening in Israel and the Gaza? We've heard that there's now going to be a move to take over the entire Gaza Strip. How does that affect New York City and their election? Because on the outset, I've seen a lot about the election. I haven't seen anything how one affects the other.
Here's the connection. For your listeners, October 7th, 2023, I was in Israel leading a national security tour on border security with Tom Holman. I took Tom Holman as our main guest. There was 60 of us. And we were led around the country by the IDF and others, showing Israel's border security. Very impressive. I went in a Hezbollah tunnel up north to 150 feet underground. Crazy stuff. And we came home late June, and in October, all hell broke loose. Hamas attacked Israel. Israel fought back and has flattened Gaza. It's literally a wasteland, except for one or two little areas, the Gaza City. But Hamas is still dedicated to killing Jews. And as a result of the victories that Israel has experienced, not just in Gaza, but in Lebanon with Hezbollah, in Iran with the IRGC and the Ayatollah. And Barry, these are earth-shattering, absolutely miraculous victories by 7 million Israelis, this 1.5 billion Muslims worldwide. They operate out of 56 countries. The 7 million Israelis want a little tiny piece of land that God gave them 4,000 years ago, and all the Muslims in the world are fighting them over that. But what's happened, whenever you humiliate Islam through victory in war, humiliation is one of the most grievous sins in Islam, to be humiliated, particularly by the Jew or the Christian. Well, the Islamic world has been humiliated in these defeats I mentioned. And as a result, even European countries and other Muslim countries are gathering protests now against Israel based on fake news, starving children and all of this, completely fake news. But world opinion is turning every day against Israel more and more. And you just mentioned that Israel plans on taking over Gaza City, which is the remaining area where they haven't totally gone into. That's going to happen between now and October 7th. That's the deadline that Israel symbolically has given. You're going to see more and more and more and more headlines, the world turning against Israel, primarily Generation Zers, under 30-year-old voters. Well, Zohran Mamdani, who was born in Uganda, he's a Shiite Muslim. He's a 12er. That means he believes exactly like Ayatollah Khomeini, that in order to bring the Muslim Messiah back, you have to create world chaos, and you create world chaos by bombing Israel with a nuclear bomb, and then the Shia Messiah will come back. Zohran Mamdani believes exactly like that. He is the leading candidate, Democrat socialist, is a communist candidate, and he is using the not only the undercurrent, but the global movement against Israel to right now register more under 30-year-olds who are socialists, who are anti-Israel, and he is going to increase by new registration and by turnout. There are 4 million Democrats in New York City, 500,000 Republicans. There's almost no possible way, barring a miracle, that he loses. And he's going to use and he won't call them Jews, he'll call them genocidal Zionists to mobilize more voters and turn them out. That's how he's going to win New York.
That's nuts. I've never heard it explained that way, Tom. I've seen he's got like 4 opponents now. I think Eric Adams is going back in, Cuomo's going in. I mean, and you've got, God love him, Eric Swalwell paddling as hard as he can, but as a registered Republican, he has like no chance. So it looks more like a 4-way race, and they think that it'll be more than a simple majority. But in this. What is he? He can't do anything with Israel. Is he going to be mostly a spokesperson? Is he going to be the titular head of the anti-Israeli movement in America? Is that what we're looking at here?
Well, how he will do it? He being Zoran Mamdani, a confusing name to say. How he will exploit the situation going on in Israel is he will have appointed leaders of supporting organizations. There's 100 Muslim organizations and communist organizations supporting him. He will have them do the direct statements. Israel's a genocidal nation. Israel is starving people. And then that's the stuff. And he will appear with those leaders at many gatherings. So he is going to steer away from the vicious language, but that will be used by his key people. He'll associate with those people, and the voters get the message that he is against Israel, against genocide, for socialism. And you will hear him in the days ahead. He will absolutely say, I stand in solidarity with France, who is going to declare a Palestinian state in New York in September at the United Nations. And the crowds will go crazy. That means he's given his approval to all the nasty stuff said about Israel. Plus, they have a ranked choice voting system, which is bizarre. You get a tablet, and you get the 4 or 5 names on the left, and then you got 5 choices at the top. You mark in your first choice, Mamdani say, and then you mark in your second, third, fourth, and fifth. And after each tabulation, they count them. Whoever has 50% plus 1 is the mayor. If no one has 50, then they take the lowest person, the person with the lowest number of votes, and put their votes, the second place votes, where they're supposed to go on this chart. Very confusing stuff. And you'll go through 4 or 5 tabulations before somebody gets 50%. I think Mamdani is going to get 50% plus 1 on the first tabulation, because the numbers are so skewed in favor of Democrats. And the Republican Party is an absolute mess in New York City. There's no organization.
Yeah, and Tom, let me back up here a little bit to June 21st, 22nd, when America went in and took out the Iraqi nuclear capabilities. And they said that was going to be World War III. There has been a peace now that has held longer than I think anybody. That whole story has dropped off the radar screen. Do you know what the situation is in the Middle East? Is there a peace, easy or uneasy, going on right now?
Yes, I know what the situation is, and yes, there is I always steer away from the term peace when dealing with the Middle East, because you have a class of people, Muslims, who the observant ones, Muslims are human beings, and most do not follow the teachings and the directions of the Quran. If they did, we'd really be in trouble. But those who don't are forced by those who do to fall in line. And in the teachings of the Quran, it is a religious obligation and the height of parenthood to sacrifice your child on the altar of jihad to kill Jews and Christians to establish the theocratic kingdom of Islam worldwide, the political kingdom. So whenever you have a system, Islam, that's willing to sacrifice children to kill the perceived enemy, Jews and Christians, you're never, ever, ever going to have peace. You have pockets of security and stability. Yes, when Donald Trump, and I did a video earlier that week encouraging him to drop those very big bombs on the nuclear facilities in Iran. When he did that, what happened was, in the mind of the enemy, the Islamic enemy, they went back to pre-Islamic times in Arabia, in the 400, 500, 600 AD time in Arabia. Back then, an Arabian principle in life, people living in Arabia, was the strong horse defeats the weak horse. The strong horse wins, the weak horse loses. That's how they conducted business, warfare, personal relationships. It's ingrained in their DNA, strong horse, weak horse. The only thing that Islamic true believers respect is strong horse, weak horse. If you're a weak horse, Islam will crush you. If you're a strong horse, they step back because they read it theologically. Allah has not given us this moment to be victorious. We will wait until our enemy weakens. We will strengthen. We will attack again. When Trump dropped those 12 bombs on those 3 facilities, it was broadcast loud and clearly, Trump, America, strong horse, take a step back. And you saw the Islamic world take a step back, particularly the Iranians. This, I would have thought, would have been unheard of in my lifetime. It is miraculous.
So at this point then, under this scenario, does that buy Israel some time, if you will, in terms of the Muslims trying to take over the Israel and the Gaza? Does that buy them time?
Yeah, and here's how it works. You got 3 players that determine peace, security in the Middle East: Israel and the Sunni Muslims, which are the majority. Out of 185 are Sunnis. And then you got 10-15% of the Shia, which is mostly all of the 90 million people in Iran. Those are the 3 players that will determine peace in the beautiful Middle East. If the Sunnis and the Shia laid their guns down, they all said, we're not going to fight each other and we're not going to fight Israel, there would be peace the next second. Israel doesn't want to conquer Saudi Arabia, Iran, anything. The Israelis want to be left alone and live their own life in their little tiny section of the world. If the Muslims lay their guns down, there's peace in the Middle East. That's peace. Never going to happen. If the Israelis lay their guns down, the Sunnis and the Shia will both attack Israel, kill all the Jews, wipe them out from the river to the sea, and take control of their prize, the Temple Mount, the Al-Aqsa, the gold dome on the Temple Mount. So right now, because Trump has smacked the Islamic world in the face as a strong horse, Israel is maneuvering to keep the Shia and the Sunnis at bay because they want to fight each other and make good. Israel's trying to make good with the Abraham Accords with Saudi Arabia in particular. Saudi Arabia hates Hamas. They want Israel to destroy Hamas, but they can't say that because their people would get unrest. But everybody knows if Israel destroys Hamas, Israel and Saudi Arabia will become friends. Iran will hate that. Other Sunni countries would come in for a friendship with Israel, and then you'll have a 10 or 15 year period of security in the Middle East before the next generation rises up and says, our parents were wrong, can't have peace with evil Jews, let's fight again. So we have this cycle that's been going on for 1,400 years. But we could see 10 or 15 years of stability in the Middle East because of what Trump did.
So this is the latest episode of the soap opera As the Middle East Turns. Is that where we're at right now?
You got it. And I've had a front row seat for the past 15 years.
As this begins to, let's say, have a lid put on it. I won't use the P word, but they've got a lid put on it. Is this now why they begin to turn their places to the soft spots in the United States, looking at New York, looking at Minnesota, looking at other places where they may be able to make some headway, the way they did with Spain in the 1400s?
Excellent observation. Absolutely, yes. There's a doctrine or the policy that Americans know very well, immigration. Our immigration was out of control, and Holman and others got it under control. Immigration is somebody wanting to come into a foreign country. And my grandparents came in from Italy through Ellis Island legally. But in the Islamic world, they have the doctrine of emigration, E-M, not I-M, emigration. And their doctrine says that if we are a Muslim nation, Muslim majority nation, run by Sharia law, and most of the 56 are like that, we have an obligation to emigrate, to leave our country. What are you doing here? We're Islamic. Our mission by Allah is to control the world. Islam means submission. We've got to get all the other countries to submit. So their doctrine of emigration, E-M, sends them to targeted areas where preparatory work has been done. The initial entree has been done. Now the building needs to take place. So you notice lately, France, Germany, some Nordic countries, all saying they're going to declare Palestine a state when the UN meets in New York in September. That's because they have huge emigrated populations from Islamic countries. Now, France is almost at 10%. When you have 10% of any culture, you're in trouble. If you have 10% of a culture that wants to take you over, Islam, you're really in trouble. So these countries have to satisfy the internal Muslim population by turning against Israel. So now Muslims are sending more and more people to Canada, Australia, and the United States to start building communities that have no interest, like my grandparents did, in assimilation. My grandparents couldn't wait to become Americans. We want to be Americans. That's not Muslims. They don't want to be Americans. They want to have Islam dominate. Now, I'm talking about the leadership and the shakers and movers. Does a 15-year-old kid who was born here and he plays soccer with his friends, does he want to be, well, he was born here as an American. Let's say he came over and he loves this country and he wants to become an American. I'm not talking about that guy. I'm talking about the serious ones that are on a mission.
So, is there any kind of idea of any kind of Reconquista movement to throw them back out the way they did in Spain? I mean, are you seeing anything in any of the Scandinavian countries, any of the European countries, even for that matter, in any of the states in the Union to try to purge these people and get them to go back to where they actually will be happier? Let's use that term.
When you look at all these significant historic movements, like what you're just referring to, when those things occurred, books were written, and by the time those books became something public somewhere that made sense, it was 200 or 300 years later. So nobody had any idea when countries threw people out, because there was no way of knowing. There's no communication. Now, if we try to throw out Khalid Mahmoud, that Palestinian leader at Columbia, who we locked up, and then he got out. We try to throw one guy out. The whole world knows about it in 10 seconds, and the whole world weighs in as protests, the Islamic world and the socialist world. So it's much more difficult to move massive bodies of humans, even doing it humanely, out, unlike earlier times when nobody knew what you were doing. Now, I am shocked, and I know Tom Holman very, very well, that he has been so successful in literally, him and Kristi Noem and the whole DOJ and ICE, in moving thousands and thousands, illegal, but criminal illegals. But now they're scooping up everybody that's illegal. So this, I think, will set a precedent for moving more people out. But here's the problem. We got a very big problem in America. Muslim Brotherhood writings say that the Brotherhood will emigrate out of Islamic countries into America and use American laws against Americans to destroy their miserable house from within. It's actually written in their documents. They hide under our First Amendment and say, free speech, you can't stop me. We can live like this. We can say this. We can do these things. And then you have enough idiot leftist lawyers that will tie these cases up for years and still make any effort to move any bad people out based upon their conflict of using Sharia law instead of American law. That's on a simple level. So we got a problem here in America. I think, as a Christian, I think part of the solution needs to be a massive evangelistic campaign to go and preach Jesus to every Muslim. They believe in Jesus, open their eyes to the true Jesus, and change their hearts. When you change their heart and you introduce them to the real God, they'll see very quickly they're following a false God. And I think that's part of the ultimate solution. It's going to be very hard to move 3 million people. Let's say 1 million are the bad ones, to move them out. Let me give you this crazy statistic. 2013, Pew Research did a study and asked a whole bunch of questions. And in those questions, 2 were asked of people 18 to 35 years old. And it basically was, do you support a suicide? Would you put on a suicide belt and kill yourself in America to advance Islam? And the secondary question was, would you support somebody who did that? And of all surveyed by Pew, which was a significant survey firm, the number, we extrapolated the number in Florida based upon the number of Muslims living here in that age group. It was something like 5,000 Floridian Muslims would either put the belt on or support somebody who did that.
Good
now,
gravy.
In our thinking, good gravy, that's our thinking. In their thinking, here, listen to this. I'll sketch this out even a little more interesting. Why would, it was between 5,000 and 10,000. Why would that many 18 to 35-year-olds say, yeah, I'll blow myself up to advance Islam. Now, I've been in Israel where people have blown themselves up, and I've seen those places and seen the pictures and all of that. Why would they do that? Because as a Christian, I get to heaven based upon my belief in Jesus Christ as my Savior. He paid for my sins. I'm forgiven. I am united with him. I die on this earth. My body's a seed. It goes into the ground. I'm with God forever in eternity. That's the Christian view. That's not an Islamic view. There is no eternal security in Islam. The only way you can get to paradise as a Muslim is following every single Quranic rule every single day, which is impossible to do it for one day. So how do you get there? Inshallah is the word. If Allah wills you go, you go. Very fatalistic. But, and I believe this is Satan's work, they wove in a carve out, an exception. If you die in a jihad, killing Jews, Christians, infidels, you are automatically translated directly into paradise. So you got these 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds who are sexually suppressed like you can't believe in Islam. They desire interaction with females, but it's prohibited at every level. If you die in a jihad and get to paradise, your sexuality is met with all these beautiful women, all these virgins. You have an eternal erection. This is actually in Quranic documents. And you have a lifetime, an eternity of sexual enjoyment and satisfaction. Hey, if that were true, I'll put on a belt too, of course, you know. Hey, this sounds pretty good. So, but these things are part of their doctrine. And how do you stop that? You got to change their heart.
Yeah, now, Tom, in the United West, your goal is to, defeat anti-constitutionalism and anti-Semitic activities. Is there anything now in your organization that's going to go to help to spread the gospel, to kind of diffuse some of the things that we've been talking about here?
No, not organizationally, because we are a mix of a couple of atheists and a bunch of Jewish, secular Jews and observant Jews. So as much as our team would say they're in 100% agree, even the atheists, they're in 100% agreement with the evangelizing. It's not something that everybody would participate in. So that's more my other life, my former life, as a Christian theologian.
Well, our church is just getting ready to do a whole segment. We've done a number of different religions and Muslims next, and this is dovetailing right with that. So let me ask you, what is next for the United West? I mean, what kind of projects are you working on currently?
We have 3 items on the drawing board for the rest of the year, and number 1 is it's called Shred, S-H-R-E-D, Shred the Zoran. And in 2018, we were approached by some folks in the Republican Party and asked to shred Gillum. You remember Andrew Gillum?
Yes.
And we launched a campaign. And shredding means to expose as an enemy of America, basically. That's how we define shred. And it's an expose campaign revealing who this person really is and why they should not be in office. They should not even be in the country. And I think you saw that come true with Gillum. We were very successful in our negative campaign against Gillum. So we decided to do a similar shred to Zoran against Mamdani, Zoran Mamdani, expose him as the Shiite, an agent of Iran, as a communist. His father's a communist. So that's project number 1. Project number 2 is our ongoing work to support Israel in its efforts to destroy the Hamas. And project number 3 is the maintenance of border security. We did a lot of work for many years on border security with Tom Homan. The continuation of that, and then the increased effort to round up sex offenders, all the really, really bad people that need to be deported. So those are our 3 agenda items from now to the end of the year.
Tom, is there something that folks out there can do to donate time, money, and effort to help the United West achieve these goals and other things that you have in the chute there?
Yeah, all of the above. If they're interested, they can contact me. The organization is The United West. You can go to theunitedwest.org to see it, and send me a note, tom@theunitedwest.org. And obviously we need donations, and we're looking for volunteers to help with all of our stuff, and it's pretty exciting work.
Tom, I got to tell you, listening to you is like drinking out of a fire hose, man. There's just so much to perceive. But if they go to theunitedwest.org, you have a lot of this. You have videos, you have blogs, you have all kinds of things they can read and understand. And my suggestion to you is donate today. Help this guy and his team. You guys are doing a great work, Tom. You really are.
Barry, really appreciate it. Love you, man, and we're in this together.
We appreciate you. Tom Trento from The United West. You've been listening to the latest edition of the Barry Foster Show, recorded at the Ridge Floor Studios, located here in the city of Charm, beautiful downtown Avon Park. Any thoughts, ideas, or suggestions for the program, just put them in the comments below. And remember, subscribe to our YouTube page as we put up new programs each and every weekday. And join our pages at The Barry Foster Show on Facebook and Instagram as well. As we continue to look for truth, justice, and the American way, this is Barry Foster, and we'll see you next time.